Hey, it's Jamal. I just made it to the top 20. Keep voting for me.
Signs waving, cameras flashing, smiling family members. You'd think it was all happiness when Jamal Roberts got out of that van in Meridian, Mississippi. However, there was an odd feeling the moment you looked past the surface. Typically, a visit to one's hometown is unvarnished, emotional, and full of candid moments, but this was controlled, neat, and tight. Production appeared to handle Jamal's visit more like a movie set than a celebration, despite the fact that it was a customary part of the Big Idol finale spotlight. The locations where Jamal was to stand, embrace, or wave were marked by camera crews who had already set up. According to the locals, some family members were asked to move in order to improve the shot. The director wasn't pleased with the angle, so they had to reshoot the scene where Jamal's grandmother hugs him 3 times, according to one person. It was also evident in the town there was confusion mixed with excitement. The energy seemed off, people whispered, and some even made the joke that it felt more like a cleanup job than a tribute. For many people in Meridian, Idol is not the beginning or end of Jamal's story. Voices behind the scenes told a very different story than the smiles and staged hugs that the cameras captured, which included years of struggle and hardship, as well as a few things the network might not want to air during prime time. After filming started, everything became more apparent. According to crew members, every poignant scene had a script or something similar. Multiple shots were taken of the scenes. It took 3 takes for Jamal to visit his former school, and his mother's tearful speech outside their home was practiced. At specific lines, she was even asked to pause so they could properly zoom in. Actual feelings pushed into a chronology. Production notes that were leaked provided additional background. The intention was to influence Jamal's journey rather than merely highlight it. A single note said, "Keep Jamal positive, avoid triggering comments or anything that may reference the early social media stuff."
This the gospel version. Look at me in my eye. Yeah. Listen, Lord, I want to take the time and thank you just for putting up with me.
What social media content? As it became apparent that Idol was treading carefully, fans began to inquire about that. They only desired the polished version of Jamal's authenticity. Reputation risk was discussed in internal meetings, according to insiders, that producers were specifically instructed to avoid anything that might result in negative publicity throughout the finale cycle. However, something happened that prevented them from cutting quickly enough despite their best efforts. It was supposed to be a straightforward parade moment, but something went wrong. One of the men in the crowd, who was standing near the camera crew, yelled, "We know what you're hiding." Everyone stopped and security hurried to find the man, but by the time they got to him, several phones had already recorded the incident. Directors reviewed the footage while crew members huddled as production halted immediately. As if nothing had happened, they resumed the shot, but they remembered the onlookers. Murmurs replaced whispers, whispering during discussions. Local Facebook groups exploded. What do they keep hidden? Why did they close it down so quickly? Was it a reference to Jamal? Although the shouter was never seen again, his words had a powerful impact because they suddenly went beyond Jamal's skill to ask what the Idol didn't want the world to know. The tension that existed between Jamal and the production team increased as the questions spread. The change in Jamal Roberts' energy became more noticeable as the cameras continued to roll in Meridian. His eyes lost their typical gleam, and the broad, carefree smile that Idol fans had grown to love was replaced by a more restrained and controlled one. Although he was still there, posing, hugging, and waving, insiders claimed that the Jamal on set wasn't the same person who tried out months prior. Crew members claimed that Jamal wanted realism and was attempting to push for something different. According to reports, he once requested to address fans directly, using only his voice and without a script or retakes. However, production strongly objected, claiming that it would disrupt the segment's flow, according to one source. But it was clear from his frustrated expression that Jamal wasn't feeling it. Not only that, but he had allegedly asked for changes to certain scenes, particularly those that seemed overly staged or manufactured, but his requests were turned down. The reply was, "It's locked already." His silent protests didn't seem to have any effect either. He began to arrive late for some setups, even leaving the camera when he didn't have to and going silent in between takes. Some described it as survival, while others referred to it as unprofessional. Later, when everything appeared to be settling down, fresh leaks revealed Idol's true motivation. At that point, a number of leaked screenshots became real. Production staff group messages began to circulate online, and they weren't just innocuous planning notes or hazy hints. Rather, they confirmed what many fans had been speculating about for weeks. Jamal's story was being handled line by Idol. "We don't want to distract from Jamal's arc, so please keep the protest signs out of the final cut," a producer writes in one message. "Cut it if he brings up the early elimination backlash. We've already addressed it, and the most telling one is that he's unpredictable on live mic." Read another note. "Keep the segments brief and control the tone." It was no longer just about editing a TV show. It was also about sanitizing Jamal's experience, removing the uncomfortable truths, and smoothing out the rough parts. Supporters who had supported him from the beginning felt betrayed right away because the Jamal they had voted for was not being shown. Instead, it was a version that the producers were happy with. However, despite the increasing pressure and the leaking, Jamal continued to appear silent and concentrated, but obviously carrying a burden no one knew. Jamal was not finished yet, though. He revealed himself in previously unheard of ways, when off camera and away from the lights. There was no scheduled interview or press conference, just a quick conversation with two local reporters he had known since high school. More than anything Idol had said all season, however, was what Jamal said at that precise moment. He acknowledged that the show had changed him, though not always in a positive way. When he was instructed not to reply to criticism, he talked about the pressure and image maintenance. He claimed that they wanted every part of me except the parts that made them uncomfortable. Jamal didn't hesitate to respond when a reporter questioned him about burnout. "There were evenings when I considered packing up and leaving. When you feel the opposite on the inside, you grow weary of having to smile." He didn't keep anything to himself, but he also didn't name names. He described how editors adjusted scenes that seemed genuine to him and how producers occasionally turned his casual jokes into pre-written scenes. "They mute you, they want your voice, but only if they can control it," he said. The most startling aspect is that Jamal implied the judges weren't merely apathetic spectators. For the longest time, Jamal remained silent, possibly out of deference or fear, but in that silent, off-camera moment, he finally mentioned the judges, who had been seated across from him the entire season. He claimed that some of them were fully aware of the pressure, the selective editing, and the control over how he was portrayed to millions of people, in addition to the prearranged scenes. He revealed some of them claimed they were merely hosts carrying out their duties, but they heard and saw things and remained silent. Worse, some judges actively shaped contestant narratives, selected favorites, and sided with producers to preserve the show's reputation, according to Jamal. Even more shocking is the fact that he hasn't mentioned names yet. Does the rumor that Jamal has recordings, brief excerpts from backstage conversations, come from moments when the true tone behind the Idol curtain was revealed? He hasn't shared them yet. One person close to him claims that he is simply waiting for the right time. His family in Meridian also felt the strain, and their admissions give the narrative a devastating new dimension. Everyone anticipated laughing, tears of happiness, and a proud family moment when Idol brought Jamal back to his hometown for what was meant to be a happy celebration. His mother later revealed that production constantly pushed them to adhere to pre-written sound bites, but the reality was quite different. She claimed that they were instructed on how to respond, when to say it, and what to say. Even private memories were trimmed to make for a tidy story. She said that while they wanted us to feel proud, they didn't want us to discuss anything that didn't enhance their image. The most agonizing instance occurred when Jamal's younger sister was asked to express her pride in her brother during an emotional scene. Instead of grinning, though, she froze and looked around in confusion. She then said in a low voice, "It doesn't feel honest." Tears filled her eyes. That scene was cut from the final edit and never aired. What was supposed to be a celebration instead felt more like a well-planned performance. Like actors on a set, the Roberts family was being directed even in their own neighborhood. Fans are picking sides, and the once excited town is now divided. After the leaks, the crowd incident, and Jamal's off-camera confession, the online atmosphere quickly changed from the initial excitement of seeing him back on screen. "We didn't vote for a script, we voted for Jamal," someone commented. "Give him back his voice." Another replied, "I feel sick knowing how much was fake. He deserved better than this circus." People wanted to know the truth about what had actually happened, so justice for Jamal and Idol Exposed became popular. Idol's own fan base was now divided, and while some viewers complained that the show was misleading, others defended it by saying it was still about talent and not politics. Over the course of a few hours, thousands of people signed a petition urging the network to release unedited video of Jamal's visit to Jamaica. Some former Idol contestants began to speak up, subtly liking posts, reposting videos, or leaving cryptic comments about how real things are behind the scenes, while another called for a public statement from the show's producers. One thing is certain, a showdown rather than a song will conclude this season. In your opinion, will Idol conceal the truth to preserve their reputation, or will Jamal's truth be revealed? For the true backstory of the Spotlight, please share your thoughts in the comments section and remember to subscribe. That's it for now.